Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Artcasters number 376. And we've got a full house tonight. We're going to get to everyone. We'll do what we always do, introduce ourselves, talk about anything that we got going on. As far as me, I usually like to say you're on my channel, but you're not on my channel. You're on Josh's channel, even though I'll be kind of the host for tonight. But on my channel, if you go to my YouTube channel, next week I will be premiering my first video in like almost 3 months. And it's Josh will get a kick out of this, I'm sure. It's a brand new direction that I'm going.
Nice. That's appropriate because we have the band back together, guys.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd point that out.
We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, so I'll be premiering my new video. Anyone that's on my Patreon has probably already seen it. So because Patreons get to see those videos about a week early. The other thing that I want to mention, if you go to circworks.com, what's going on? We're not seeing our little things. Anyway, if you go to circworks.com, I've revamped my whole website to reflect the direction that I'm going in. So if you haven't been there in a while, go and check that out. Other than that, you go to my website. I got all kinds of cool stuff there. So I'm going to head over to Corey. Corey, what do you got going on?
Same old stuff, I guess. You can see my stuff at CoreyKerr.com. I've got all kinds of fun things there that you can buy. I'll be doing another couple of videos here in the next series of kind of explaining in detail some of the principles that make things look good. And so stay tuned on that. Get on my Substack. If you go to CoreyKerr.com/email, you'll make sure not to miss that. And you can, I don't know, it'll go out other places, but that's the main place, and you can check that stuff out. So yeah.
All right. And like I said, we do have a full house today. We have some returning guests, probably our most returning guests. These two guys. I think we'll kick it off with Jim. Jim, you're the one that kind of brought up this topic, which we're going to get to in a little bit. So I'll talk to you first, and you tell everyone what you got going on.
I am making an animated film. That's what's going on. It's called The Full Fungus, and I'm sort of at the beginning stages of it, which sounds like a disease, which we'll talk about later. And it's going really well, and I'm still excited, and hope to talk about that tonight a little bit.
All right. And Gary Hodges, fresh back from Phoenix Fan Fusion, pitching his new project that he's got. You want to talk about the new project?
First of all, regarding that disease that Jim mentioned, Jim, I still say you got that from somebody else. I don't know anything about it. I'll just say that. Okay. As far as I am doing, I am the creator of the comic series Dinosaurs vs. Marsbots, aka D versus M.
I want to read Marsbats too.
Or Marsbats too. That's actually, I just spoiled
I'm representing the Mars
thing. The Martian bats finally get introduced. I've got 3 issues out. It's a sci-fi horror series describing firsthand eyewitness accounts of a top secret war that involves aliens and men in black and scientists and, yes, dinosaurs. You can get them at my Etsy. If you Google D versus M Etsy, you'll find it. You can also follow me on my Instagram, Dinosaurs vs. Marsbots, Dinosaurs vs. Marsbots, or on YouTube under my name, Gary Hodges.
All right, and we've saved somebody for last, because one thing that I didn't tell you up front is that tonight's show is sort of a telethon / fundraiser.
Yeah.
And to do that, our first act is going to be Josh, and he's gonna perform a little ditty for you, and I don't know. You go ahead, Josh. You want to talk a little bit more about what we're doing tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna promote stuff, and I was just thinking today's MEU Awareness Day, and we all know someone with MEU. And so I just thought I'd do a song to kind of bring awareness to MEU. So here we go. Well, if you got yourself a case of MEU. Just know it's me and you. MEU. Don't go to the ICU with the MEU. It's me and you. All right, guys, now let's all sing. MEU, me and you.
MEU, me and you.
Oh, MEU, it's me and you.
Me and you.
In America.
I love how Corey has the old school Zippo line.
Everyone, I just want to announce I just checked the subscription numbers, and Josh's channel lost 1,000 subs. Right, and it's remarkable. It's really something.
Some people can't handle the hard truth about MEU.
That's right. We have the difficult conversations here about MEU.
I have a feeling one of Jerry's kids is gonna roll up on Josh and blast him.
So are we gonna let
We should
the
explain
audience in on all these
viewers
inside jokes that they might not be privy to, so they
Yes.
don't think we've gone completely mad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
Here's
ahead,
the
Jim.
explanation of MEU.
You guys
By the
be
way.
prepared for some sadness. Okay.
No. About I don't know, about a few weeks ago, I had a dream that in the dream, I don't remember the details, but I was at the doctor's office, and the doctor told me that I had MEU, and I was like, MEU, what's that? And he's like, yeah, I mean, how do you feel right now? I'm like, I feel great. If I have MEU, I'm gonna live with it because I have MEU, but MEU doesn't have me. And so I was like going about my day, and I was just like, I was convinced, like, I'm going to beat this. Like, I am going to beat this. And then during the dream,
right.
I don't know if I was in a park or I was somewhere, and there was like an older man, and we were talking about, MEU and blah, blah, blah. And the old man just leaned over and went, yeah, good luck with that MEU. And I woke up in horror. Like, it was just such a chilling message. Like, it was a death sentence. And I woke up and I was like, crap. And then so I immediately looked up MEU on my cell phone like 3 a.m. Yeah. And Josh was live streaming. No. And yeah. And all I could find for MEU was, what did I tell you was his Marine Expedition Unit or something?
Yes.
And,
Middle Eastern University.
So I signed up to join the Marines after I'm done with my Middle Eastern University degree. Yeah. So that's what MEU is. That's where it comes from. Nice. And we started a private MEU support group chat. And
yeah, we have an MEU awareness.
And this network. Is what we choose to do with our lives.
Hashtag MEU.
That's right.
Me and you.
So, but thank you for the song, Josh. I feel empowered, and I feel I'm going to get through.
We gotta support our.
Do you
friends,
feel seen? Do you feel seen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel violated a little bit.
Yeah. Wow.
Is that the more you know?
That is seen. That's seen. You have to be seen before you can be violent.
That's sure. Yeah. Well, thank you.
All right, guys. Well, I think I'm really excited about the topic tonight. I'm extremely.
Did you want to actually pitch anything you got going on?
Oh yeah. I guess I should, like, in all reality, now that I've lost half my subscriber count. But it was worth it to bring awareness to MEU,
That's right.
But I feel like, Jim, you should have some, like, we need to come up with a ribbon color for it
or something.
And you should definitely have MEU awareness as like a side bit in your cartoons, like just in like the background, like an MEU awareness poster or like a ribbon that they're all wearing.
You can't spell United America without MEU.
That's true. That's right. MEU is in America.
ME us.
MEUSA. All right. So Jacob's Apartment is my slice of life graphic novel about two roommates that are polar opposites that go through really tumultuous seasons in their life and start questioning their identity and their belief systems. And in the process of questioning these things, fall in love in a doomed romance, similar to if you took Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, put it in a blender with Ghost World, you'd have Jacob's Apartment. So check that out. And then also 2 Stories, which is my graphic novel that actually talks about like heavy topics like mental illness. It didn't talk about MEU, unfortunately. That'll be my next graphic novel. We'll be bringing awareness to that. I do like it as Mew. That's pretty cool.
MEU Stories is the next book.
Yeah. But MEU Stories will be the next book, but this book's 2 Stories. So yeah, those are my books. You can get them everywhere. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe and the bell and all that stuff on this channel. So
Josh, before we start the show, I just need to know one thing. Are you napped up?
oh yeah,
You're sufficiently napped up.
I had a power nap.
Yes.
It was nice. Had a cup of coffee because I have tomorrow off. So
All right. Nice.
Nice.
Very good. I like that.
yeah. So you guys are going to be on here for like till like 4 a.m. You don't
At
realize
least.
it yet,
At
but
least.
we're doing a long stream, you guys. A long.
This is
stream.
the after party.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So why are we here? Why are we here?
Yeah,
Actually,
so I
this
guess
was
you're
your
the,
idea.
you're the person we need to talk to about why we're here.
That's true.
Jim brought up the topic. He wanted to talk about beginnings, middles, and ends of long-term projects because we've organized. If you're watching this, I assume you're watching it. Maybe you could be listening or not paying attention. But if you look at the top row of the top row creators, we kind of organized that way because Jim is in the beginning of his project. Josh is sort of in the middle, pretty much kind of dead. Well, he was in the dead center of it like a few weeks ago. Now he's maybe a little closer to the end, but still towards the middle. And Gary just wrapped up his third issue of his comic series. So he's sort of just at the end of it. So
that's why Gary's in a smoking jacket currently.
and then for myself and Corey, I mean, these guys typically work on one big long project. And I think Corey and I kind of have.
We're kind of in the middle of all 3 of them because we're constantly at the beginning, middle, and end of all of them.
Yeah. Other than the fact that I am launching a big thing next week, which we'll kind of focus more on then. But so right now, I want to turn it back over to Jim and find out kind of what you had in mind what did you actually want to discuss as far as beginning, middles, and ends.
Well, besides bringing up MEU awareness,
yes,
which we've done, nailed it. I also wanted to. All 3 of us are at different stages within our projects. And especially watching Gary go past the finish line, just barely break the tape, and then like breathing heavy on the ground, but then getting back up and probably going to run another marathon in a week. And having Josh is right now in the middle of the marathon. There is poop streaming down his leg. He's just...
That's right.
And me right now, I'm at the beginning and I'm getting carved up. So, we're at, all 3 of us are at different stages of the project. Gary is exhausted and a raging alcoholic.
That's where I am right there. That's
nice.
where I am in the project.
He's been driven to drink Coors Light, which might as well
I'm
drink.
actually a bit of a lightweight. This is almost like beer flavored LaCroix. I mean, it's nothing.
Gary, am I crazy, or did that packaging go away for a while and they reintroduced the old school?
I think because of Stranger Things. I could be wrong.
That's
but I
really
think
exciting. That makes me want to.
In like the old the golden
That can is actually from 1979. Ironically.
Yeah, that's true.
I've just kept it this long. This was
he needed it as a prop for 1979. Yeah.
So this topic actually, Josh, you and I had our own conversation. This is kind of where it stemmed from too.
Yes.
Because I think Josh was hitting some fatigue.
Yeah.
We talked about it's not burnout and fatigue are 2 different things.
Yeah.
Burnout is like you're
easy to confuse one for the other.
Right.
But different.
Right. And I think Josh has more fatigue because it's just such a heavy weight that he's constantly lifting. So I gave him some, I don't know, my opinion, some advice, some tips or whatever for kind of shaking things up, because I mean, I'm constantly doing these big projects and I always get to a spot where it's like, okay, if it stops being fun, what can I do to kind of shake things up and approach getting the work done at a different angle? And I have the luxury of in my projects, there's music involved, so I can jump to that for a few weeks. You know, there's art, you know, there's voices, and there's all kinds of stuff. But with doing a graphic novel, doing art, I mean, there's only so many different ways you can spin things around. But I suggested, you know, maybe try to, I don't know, if you're doing pencils, you know, inks, colors, just try to do all pencils for, you know, a couple weeks, and then next week do all inks and see how that works. Just to, as my friend says, break up the monopoly.
Nice.
But I don't know how has that been going, Josh?
So I'm finally at the first stage of that, because like I had to kind of wrap. The way I've been doing it is, you know, I have the full script and stuff, and then I'll break down the script into like chunks of 5 pages that I'll send the roughs to, you know, the publisher and the author just to make sure everything's good. And then once that goes, I'll proceed to finish those 5 in like a specific order. And I'm going to shake it up a bit. So I finally finished that batch of 5. So this is like, today will be the beginning of trying to shake it up just a little bit. So I think I'm going to do 10, roughs first this time. And then I think maybe from there, I might actually just batch everything. So instead of doing like completed pages at a time, do like all pencils, all inks, like whatever for each, just to kind of change it up. Because I do think that was really good advice. And I will recommend that for people just in general. It's just like kind of a no-brainer. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Well, Gary he's just descended the mountain. And
it's true.
Oh, by the way, Corey's
he's on the return from Mordor. Like this is the point where Gandalf and Gary are like, let's have a Coors Light and get out of here.
That's right.
You know?
By the way, I just noticed Corey's creating counterfeit as we speak, but we won't say anything. But
I think the Secret Service, the Treasury Department, is going to be really interested in
what counterfeit?
I'll tell anybody.
So, but Gary, you just descended the mountain, the Mordor, and what white wizard Gary, which that's not the first time he's been called that.
That's true. Totally different context, though. Totally.
But what could you directly tell Josh, who's in the middle of it? Which, knowing Josh knows a lot of tricks about, you know, how to get out of it. But what you just went through it, you know, what would your comment be on that?
Oh boy. Well, that's really, I mean, just that there is that someday you will be done. Which, I mean, that might seem like a very kind of cliche or glib or simplistic thing to say, but I think when you're, I mean, what's the saying about, you know, when you see the light at the end of the tunnel, keep moving or something like that. I mean, someday you will be done. And I think that just needs to be emphasized. I know, now obviously, you know, my project was not as long as Josh's. I mean, Josh, how many?
And
what's your?
Didn't have deadlines too, Gary. You and
he
I
has deadlines, and he has a publisher, which is like so. It's a different situation. With all those stipulations, there was a period. I would say, I don't know, like so. It was a 60-page. I did a 60-page book. I do a page a week, so it's 60 weeks of drawing. There was a period of probably like, I don't know, 45 weeks in, 50 weeks in where I was done. I felt spent. And now you're just like, it's just an act of will to kind of keep going. It's like, as you see the tape of the end of the marathon getting close, it finally gets into your field of view. It just seems like it's not getting closer as fast as it should. Like you're just it's just sitting. It's like a mirage floating ahead of you as you're going. It's just really easy to get demoralized. And
Yeah.
I think I think you have to just realize, like, look, if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, someday, like, this is just a math problem.
Yeah.
Someday there won't be any pages left to draw. Like that day will come, and then
Just keep swimming.
Well, and also, I think, this was something that I thought about, and we talked a little bit about this a couple days ago, I think. Josh, you did a live stream, I think maybe a month ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I think the title was something to the effect of "Comics Suck." Was it something like that? Okay, yes.
Yeah.
And
I recommend to people. I'd actually say it's a good stream.
Yeah, and it was a good
there.
video, and it's an amusing, clickbaity title, and I know I know in large part you're saying that irreverently, but what I was talking about with Jim was this thought that I think it's important when you're late in a process or mid or whenever you're feeling tired. It doesn't even matter where you're in the process when you're feeling tired and you're feeling miserable, to be able to accurately name your pain.
Yeah.
And I would, and again, I know the spirit you meant it, and I know you didn't mean that literally, but part of me is like, it's not so much that I think comics suck. I think working like a maniac every day for months or years sucks.
Yeah, which is
and that's an important distinction. And
Yeah.
so, and the way I was relating to that is, like I said, I spent 60 weeks drawing a book. I came out of it saying, like, I'm going to play every video game that's ever been created. Like, I'm going to relax. I'm going to watch movies. I'm going to read books. Oh my God, I can't wait. I sat and played through one video game beginning to end and was sort of like, well, I guess I'll start thinking about writing the script. And what I learned from that was, it's not that I was tired. It's not that I hate drawing. I love drawing.
Yeah.
Like, I've been drawing ever since I was a kid. It's not that I hate doing comics. I love doing comics. And it's not that it's like, oh, I don't love video games as much as I thought because I only played one and then I was like fine with it. It's not that. It's that I realized for myself, I hate doing the same thing every day indefinitely for years. Like, that's what was driving me bananas. So, and this is kind of, this is end of project perspective. This offers me an opportunity to postmortem my process a little bit and say, like, all right, what can I do differently for the next one that keeps me from going totally bananas?
Yeah.
And like, for example, what I'm playing with is the idea of like, maybe I'll do like a 3 weeks on, 1 week off kind of schedule while I'm drawing the next one. Just so I'm not in a situation like with this last one where every day I'm drawing for 60 weeks. I mean, that's madness. It's madness. And I was starting to fray. I don't know if any of that is useful to someone who's in the middle of this process, but that would be the only thing I could offer to Josh.
No, I feel that. And the way I even described it on a video that I think prompted Jim to call me and give a suggestion was it kind of feels like so when you start the project, right, you're kind of like on an I think the analogy I made was like it's like you're, I don't know, I'll come up with a new one. It's almost like you're on Alcatraz, right, and your escape is going to be through creating this great piece of art, but like once you get in the ocean, it's a little scary and cold, and you start realizing this water's full of sharks. And if you guys don't think that's the case, watch Sharkatraz. It's a hilarious documentary where it basically explains everything in Alcatraz and then ends with, but they could have been eaten by sharks. And it's like, wait, that was it? Anyhow, but anyhow, so you feel like you get in, you've done your escape. You've finally gotten the self-discipline to like get this thing started and sit down at the drawing table. And so at first there's the daunting, like, look from Alcatraz to like the bay. And then it's like, when you're like, a quarter of the way through, you're feeling pretty good because you're like, okay, we're escaping. This is good. This is gonna happen. But when you get to that middle point where everything's filled with fog, and you have no idea which way is the bay and which way you left from, and you're just treading water, just kind of in hopes, like, I guess I'll arrive somewhere soon. Like,
Yeah.
and like Gary was saying, there's a point in comics, especially long form comics, and I'm sure Jim want to hear too, like how that is with animation, but I'd imagine it's similar, where you reach these points on projects where it's like, from experience, this will get done if I just keep kind of carving at it.
Yes.
But then there's just the reality of, like, no matter how many times you've been through it, when you get to that point where you're like mid water and you're looking around and you can't see anything, and you're like, am I supposed, like, you're going to keep swimming, but it does feel like very daunting and just kind of disorienting and stuff. So that's where I really appreciate Jim's advice that he gave. And then I also think just acknowledging it too, as just kind of part of the process of art, is a good thing too,
Yes.
Like for me, being able to just post a video that's like, comic books suck. And I didn't mean that too euphemistically. Making comics does suck, but there's of course a premise to it. Like it's obviously worth it. Obviously that's why we're doing it. But it's like, I feel like making animation sucks. Like I haven't met a lot of people who make art that don't have a point in the process where they're just like, this sucks. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know, Jim.
Well,
like,
and there's a difference here, I think, maybe between the two of us and Jim. This is something I've talked about a few times where,
well, MEU might have something to do with that.
It could be an MEU issue.
Hashtag MEU.
I, unlike Jim, I don't treat fun as an absolute barometer of whether this is working or not. I do see a distinction between fun and rewarding, and I'm content for rewarding. To me, rewarding is the barometer. I can be miserable in the marathon. I can be tired, but as long as I'm glad I'm doing it, it's fine.
Yeah. And you want that medal, you're not.
Yeah,
or
the process.
Yeah,
or as long as I accept, it's like, look, there's going to be a part of this marathon where I'm going to hate life.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to do this, and when I finish, I'll feel good about it.
Yeah.
But there'll be a pain point somewhere in there. Like I'm accepting of that, and I feel like that's okay and healthy for myself. For other people, it may not be. That's just what I think the nature of the beast is. Listening to you talk about it, Josh, I feel like you have a similar sort of philosophy about it, where it's like, I don't need to feel like this is
and I do
a hobby every day. Like I don't need to feel like I'm just like delighting and having fun doing this all the time for it to still be worthwhile.
I do see the value though with what Jim was talking about, because I think that keeping it fresh and interesting and engaging is important during the process, because otherwise you can kind of get stale, and there's nothing worse than, like, like one of the great things about DVSM 1979 is like every panel has like care and consideration and thought behind it, and it really shows with the work. It would be such a shame if you bought 1979 and then like every page is great and there's this one page where you were just like, I'm done,
right,
I'm out, like screw this. And because with art you can tell when people are engaged or not. So I think
that's a great example though of I think me, fun versus rewarding. There were days probably where I mean not probably, I know there were days where, or weeks where I wasn't feeling it, but I knew I wanted to deliver a consistent level of quality within my ability. Like, and to me, that's the payoff. It's rewarding to me that it all has a quality to it, and a consistency to it. That I wasn't always having fun, that's, but again, if I was not having fun and also it wasn't rewarding to me, like I was just enforcing all these weird rules on myself and I wasn't really feeling any satisfaction by chasing them, then there's a problem. Yeah, like that's when I would be self-examining, like what's gone awry in my process.
I like that. So Jim, like you're kind of at the start. How are you kind of feeling with that? Like,
Well,
what are
for
the
I
things
wanted-
that get you through? Because you've finished a million projects. What are your tricks?
and I've rocked them all. For one, I want to let Gary know I think there's something wrong with my copy of DVSM because in the middle there's like nothing there's like 2
I
pages.
will admit there's a cop out panel for sure where you were just like,
There are a couple pages that I had a
So-
nice easy. That didn't count. That didn't take me 2 weeks. Those were.
He stared at them. No, he actually painted them white. So
I did. Yeah, I actually painted everything that was in the scene and then put a white layer on top of it just to not cheat.
pixel by pixel, every single pixel with just a
because he could.
yeah.
Okay, so I also wanted to mention too, when you're in the thick of things right now, Josh, I believe you are in the middle of the White Album. I think you are. There's been internal struggles. There's been sleep, attacks. There's been just your, regular 9 to 5 living, family, everything. And that you've been pushing through, and it's been really hard, and it's been really rewarding and really fun at times. It's been everything, but you're in the middle of the White Album, and look how the White
Recording or listening to?
No. He's making the White Album. Like,
Okay.
Look how the White Album turned out. In my opinion, it's their best.
I think he's listening to The Dark Side of the Moon high while watching Wizard of Oz. That's the impression I kind of get.
Well, the White Album, unlike Gary's White Pages, is a classic. So,
Oh, I'm going to blame that on the MEU, buddy.
Yeah.
yeah,
Snap, shots fired. Ladies and gentlemen, the drama ensues.
I'm a victim,
Artcasters.
Gary. Okay. No, but I think you're gonna look back when this is done. I mean, your work hasn't suffered. In my opinion, your work has not suffered at all. I think it's some of your best stuff you've ever done. But you're in the middle of it. So, like, when you're in the middle of something, it's different challenges than when you're at the beginning of something. What I'm finding my challenge is, I'll do something, and then I'll feel like I'm on a roll, and then I'll just move on to the next scene or whatever, and then I go back and watch the first scene and go, I probably should do that one thing over again. And no, I'm going to keep moving on. And then it keeps bugging me, and then I end up having to go back and do that one thing to fix the thing. I've also learned, and this is the way I have so much material finished, I've also learned to leave imperfections in and just work around them. Just don't worry about, everything having to be spotless and perfect. I have a different style than you, Gary. Your style would not work in that, or Corey's, I think, wouldn't work in that method, because your stuff that's part of the appeal, is that it's so accurate. But at the beginning of a project like this, you're filled with hope and filled with excitement but you soon, very, very soon, after you've launched the boats and you see the waves, and the shore is getting farther and farther away, you realize that you're always kind of in the middle of it, even if you're in the beginning. So that's kind of how I feel. Now, I did want to address the fun comment. I mean, maybe I should have used a different word. Actually, to Gary's point, rewarding is actually more accurate. If it's rewarding, you can do something that it's not. I hate doing lip sync, but the minute I do lip sync and it's done, it's instantly rewarding. So it's fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, if I had to do all lip sync, for months after months, it wouldn't be fun. But it's a balance. It's a balance of hard work and then reward, and then things you like to do, and then reward, and then stepping away from it. And so it's like a living thing.
Yeah. That's a really good way to put it.
Your project is like a living thing. So you can't just, you can't feed a baby spam every day. I mean, maybe 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And down it with a soda,
If you dip the binky in gin and then blow pot smoke in its face, it'll take the spam.
Yeah.
Right. Corey had spam every day as a baby, and he turned out fine.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, the emails got kind of tiring after a while, but you just learn to live with them,
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I'm here all night, guys.
Dang it.
I'm self-censoring myself all the time. So,
No, I get that like a lot. Like I think one of the other analogies I had brought up in that video was that you know, there's a thing I think that we all have as like human beings, which is like this desire to play video games. Like if you're going to play a video game, you don't want to play it on the easy level. And it's like anybody who loves video games, like they never, like the people I know are biggest into gaming, and I'm kind of speaking for the one guy here who's the massive gamer, Gary Hodges.
Oh no, I'm definitely
Yeah. But I feel like, you know, he'd attest to this too. It's like no serious gamer is going to play it on the easy setting ever. Like it's just not a video game at that point. There's a joy in, you know, like the friends I know who've played Elden Ring, which is supposedly one of the hardest video games.
Mhm.
You know, it's when you play it on the hard setting and then you finally like take down a demon or something. It feels really good because you're like,
yeah, it's
dude,
the overcoming of a challenge.
exactly.
You know, like I mean, people look. Climbing Mount Everest is a big deal. No one sits and talks about climbing Mount Baldy. Like that's not, you know, there has to be some resistance.
That's also
a
New Direction song.
Mount Baldy.
Climbing Mount Baldy.
Climbing Mount Baldy. Yeah. Mounting. How about mounting?
Nice. But no, yeah, you're right. Like I think like if somebody's really into hiking, like the more serious people get about hiking, the more they're going to do like a really serious hike. Like, you know, they might do the Narrows or something like that. They're not going to be like, I've gotten really serious about hiking, guys, and take like the paved path that the tourists take.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. So Scott, what do you think? Like, cause technically it's funny because you always kind of make it out like you're not working on a long project, but Young and the Dead has been a very long project, you know?
Yeah.
And yet you keep working on it.
If I'm like comparing, I guess the closest person here to doing what I'm doing with Young and the Dead here is Gary.
Yeah.
Because he's got I guess they're both going to be 6 issues. This is a little longer than mine because it's more pages per issue, but he's, I mean, we're talking about him being at the end of one particular issue, but he's still got 3 to go.
Right.
I wrapped up an issue and now I'd say if it was a normal size issue, I'd be done with the penciling, but it's a little bigger. So right now I'm working on an epilogue, but so it's moving along. But I don't know where we would kind of put that as far as where I am, because like Gary's doing, you said a page a week. We're doing page a week. I'm just doing kind of at least 30 minutes a day, usually about an hour a day, you know. Oh, and speaking of, in the spirit of that, I saw Holly's in the chat. If anyone hasn't seen, Holly's doing the 100 Days of Making Comics, which is kind of cool.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm sort of doing it in spirit, but I'm not really doing videos about it. So, but anyway, so I'm that's where I am as far as in the middle of that particular project. But then my other big project is that I've been spending most of my time, aside from a couple client projects, is the YouTube and building that. So that particular project I'm in the beginning of. I know that's kind of going to be the topic of next week's Artcaster, so I won't get too much into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that's why I said kind of Corey and I, it seems like, even though, I mean, Josh, you've got like 2 books, you had to kind of switch focus from one book you were working on, and now you're focusing solely on another book. But even though you have 2 projects, but this one's got to be priority now and everything like that. So yeah. Corey and I think, you know, Corey likes to do small projects one at a time, and if he wants to chime in, he can kind of speak to that. But for me, I've kind of got, I guess, a few different things going on at a time, but I don't, other than, like you said, Young and the Dead's like a long-term project.
Yeah.
So it is moving along, but I don't know. I just feel like the amount of time I'm spending on it right now it's not like the priority. It's still
It's not fresh
that
on the
project's
mind,
always
yeah.
been sort of a back burner type thing, and that's why it takes me.
I have a question I've never thought to ask Scott, but I'm curious. When you think of Young and the Dead, do you think of it as, or is each issue an individual project for you, or do you think of it as this big project that you're just taking bites at? Like when
well, I always say, I mean, kind of both. I mean, it is a big project like that, but the reason why the reason why it's not a graphic novel, the reason why it's individual issues, because if I didn't break it up like that, it wouldn't be manageable for me. It'd be too overwhelming.
right?
And that's why I always give people the advice of, start with something small. And
Yeah.
even if it is a bigger project, just do a part of it at a time, and don't think so much. I mean, you can sort of plot things out, but look at that finish line of, I've got an issue,
Yeah.
I've got an issue to complete, and then celebrate that when you're done.
Yeah.
Kind of like
No,
what Garrett
same.
is talking about. He has all these plans to play video games and stuff, and that's his celebration. And
Yeah.
I think it's awesome that he played a couple video games and he's like, I think I can get back to writing and stuff. That like warms my heart.
Yeah, I learned all I needed was a break.
Yeah,
I was, and that's what I was talking about with Josh, was like, it's this thing of like, I think, if you had caught me at week 60, I would have said like, I'm over it. I'm over it. Like, but I quickly realized, like, literally, like, it took me about 2 weeks. It took me about the time of placing the print order by the time the comic showed up, like whatever that gap was, realized I just needed a break. Like, I really just needed a vacation.
Yeah.
More than anything else. And it came back immediately, but it was just this thing where in the thick of it, I was like, I never want to do this again. Now I know that that's nonsense. Like when I hear that inner voice saying like, oh, this is torture, I never want to do this again. I know it's like but I didn't realize how fast it would come back.
Yeah, it's funny how much though, like even though you can know it's nonsense and know it's part of the process, it still feels really real when you're in it. Like, when I was talking about comic books sucking, like I'm in the middle of like 100% feeling that. I'm like, as I'm working, I'm like, why does anyone do this? Like, why do we do this to ourselves? And then, but Scott kind of touched on something that I think actually we all do to an extent. And I think that would be really interesting to hear Corey about his smaller projects, because I always give the opposite advice to Scott in general on this, where I agree with Scott. I think, if you're going to get overwhelmed with a big project, start with the small one, get a couple wins, right? That's a good way to start. But I tend to think if you have a big thing you want to do, like start doing it and like fail at it. Like, you'll learn so much. Corey's a good example of this. Like he's talked about, like, he did a web comic that was like 80 pages, Corey. It was like a crazy long.
Just over 60.
Yeah, and you didn't feel like at the end you ended up with like a result you were like super proud of. It's not in your portfolio, but that taught you how to draw.
I think a few of the pages were pretty good.
Yeah, but, and I've seen it, and it's like, dude, for like a first crack, it's like really pretty solid.
I was also 32, and I had been a graphic designer, photographer, and cinematographer for 10 years. So there was some crossover with that. Yeah, but I think.
But would you consider that like a failed project? Because like, you know what I mean? That's what I mean is like you learn so much in the process of that. I can't imagine you like wanting to edit that out of your life or anything.
Oh no, I definitely do it again. And I think that is the absolute best way to do anything where you want to level up in a skill, is find a project that requires that of you. Because if you do it in any other way, you're only going to learn the stuff that you think that you want to learn, and you won't learn all the stuff that you need to learn. Yeah. And so like, I decided to teach myself animation, and that only took, maybe 18 months to get, like, I think to a significant level of proficiency. And I mean, when I say animation, I'm talking about very specific types of animation. So I still don't know, different things. But I mean, I didn't do that by like, I'm going to follow a bunch of tutorials. I'm like, all right, let's make a short film. And I completely failed at the first one. of which there are 97 videos of me attempting and failing at that. If you guys want to watch that,
It's
that
cool though because you see it, like I'd encourage people to watch those videos though, because you do see Corey in the process of this crazy, like, ambitious project. Like, his animation goes from like meh, like the art is great, but the animation's kind of like meh at first because it's like he doesn't know the program, and then by the end of it, he's like, yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna be working in like 3D, and like we're working with like displacing these things, and I'm gonna put in this algorithm, and you're like, holy crap, he went from like a kind of new to the program kind of guy to like an expert on this medium, which is kind of an insane thing to watch. I encourage people to check that out.
Yeah, and then I made 3 animated shorts since then.
100%, yeah.
That
And they're great.
Award winning, they've played in festivals and blah blah blah. So,
Yeah.
and I think now that I've been toying with this idea, I've got the storyboard and the animatic for that original short that I kind of wasn't able to do. I think I could knock that out now in about a month.
Yeah, you probably could.
Yeah, and I'm considering that might be something that I do to take a break from Esoteric Crumble Flux. So that's anyway. Yeah,
It would be worthwhile because the character designs and stuff are all there, and it's like you had solid, like super solid art from it, so
yeah, I just have to get over my my desire to not be labeled. I fled insects as soon as people started referring to me as the insect guy, and I was like, you can't label me. So anyway, so every time somebody's like, oh, you're the guy that does X, I like abandon that thing as I just flip everybody off and moonwalk away. I never want to be like known as the guy who does something. I don't know why.
Now you're known as the mother fluxer. So.
Yeah, that's right.
So, hey, so Corey does something. He does the same thing I do, but he does it in a way more impactful version of what I do. So, like I was mentioning, if I get really, really tired of animating, I can jump over to music and do the music for my project for a little bit. And I do that all the time. And Corey doesn't jump to different parts of his project. He jumps to different styles.
Yeah.
Different methods and just completely will jump into something he's never tried before and then masters it and then moves on to the next thing and then sometimes goes back to the thing. So I think it's both of us. I don't know, Corey, would you say it's an attention span thing, or do you think we're just both trying to keep it fresh?
I don't know if it's attention span for either of us. It's kind of like I look at it as like a gearbox, like if I'm riding my motorcycle, like I technically could do 80 in like second gear, but why? Like you should be in fifth gear when you're doing that. And then when I'm slowing down, I'm going to downshift and do a different gear. It's the same amount of power can get you different speeds or different levels of torque. And so if I'm noticing that, I'm redlining my engine at a specific thing, and I think that I could use that type of energy more effectively in a different process or a different style, I jump just so that I'm not burning fuel pointlessly. And so yeah. I'll go through like what you suggested to Josh. I'll go through batching. So I'll do batching where I'm just going to do pencils. And I'm just going to do like 2 weeks of pencils, and then I'm just going to do inks. And then I'll go through where I need to finish some stuff to like gain that momentum. And so I'll try to find like the 6 quickest things that I can like complete in like a 72-hour period or something. Yeah. But to me, that's just like switching from first to second to third down to second again. This isn't going to make sense to anyone born after 1995 because like manual transmissions don't exist anymore. But you used to have to shift like with a stick. There was a stick in the middle of the car and you would move it around. Anyway.
And you liked it.
It was actually pretty awesome.
So
you pay extra for it now.
Going around the round table, and let's maybe start with Corey again. What is the least favorite part of your current process?
Ooh, good question.
The least favorite part of my current process or project? I guess currently I'm doing client work. That's the least
Right.
favorite part of
Well,
everything
Well,
ever.
okay, let's say for like Crumble
Clients.
Crumbleflex. That's the,
Clients are the least favorite.
no.
I love that.
Crumbleflex would be your current thing that
Yeah. I agree.
So what is the thing about Crumbleflex least that you enjoy?
This is going to sound vapid, but the fact that no one else cares about it. Like I put in,
I think that's a very legitimate thing for people to hear.
Yeah.
I think because a lot of people, it's about connecting to an audience. So I think that's
and I'll put in 20 plus hours on a single image, and it gets almost no response, or I sell like a single shirt or something, and it's like, if I were doing it for the money or the attention, this would be the stupidest thing to do ever, because it's like I would be making 75 cents an hour or something. It's so I think that's my least favorite part is there's that pull, there's that drive, right? Like I don't like as kind of as a little bit of like a rebel and a punker, and I don't really like admitting that there's a basic human drive to want to be recognized and want to be perceived in a specific way. Because I like to think of myself as like, I don't care what people think, but like everybody does,
You're an
everybody
island,
does, and so there's that pull. Like I could just do fan art, like when some of my most popular stuff is the stuff that I was like, I'll do Leia choking out Jabba the Hutt, why not? And then, so if I was doing it for the attention, it would be drastically different. And I think I could do some numbers with like a heraldry engraving kind of ancient style with like modern pop culture stuff. I mean, that would be like the Jed Henry, kind of what do you call it?
You like stick Baby Yoda in your Crumbleflex and you got a sale.
There you go.
Right. And so I think that's probably my least favorite part of the process, is just every single time I build it up and I'm like, this is going to be the one that people care about. And then, nobody does. So not nobody. I mean, there are those that care, but
at best, not as many people as you'd like, but not nobody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then if I'm being honest, I don't know if I could reach a point where I would be satisfied with the number of people that are happy with it. You know what I mean?
That's a good insight.
If I had 10,000 people or hundreds of thousands of people, I'd be like, but why not millions? Why not?
Yeah.
Sometimes, Corey, you cannot think about that stuff, because each one of us, if we think about how disposable our art is to others and how quickly they just glance at it, or something you've been working on for months and months, and they go, oh, cool, next page.
Well, I mean, I think to a certain extent, I am like, no, I'm going to make you understand how much work that is. You don't get to glance at this. Here's a 20-minute time-lapse video of me inking this thing while I talk about something that no one cares about. Like that'll make you look at it longer. Like
you'll see.
Snapping is not the answer for you. I told you this before.
So anyway, but if I don't want to say that I don't care, because I do, but if I really cared, it would look totally different, and it would be a completely different subject matter. I would be doing, and I can do this. I did this professionally for over a decade. I can get online. I can use all the analytics tools to track and predict trends of what's going to do well on social media and what's going to do well in SEO and SEM. And I can get in there and I could gamify kind of the system, and I could make what the people want, and I would feel empty and soulless, and it would be drudgery, and it would feel to me like client work, because I would be making things that I don't want to make.
Yeah.
But I would be making things that are popular, and hey, there you go.
I'm give you the classic Jim Lujan speech right now. This is the Jim Lujan Rocky speech to independent creators.
I like how you asked me the least favorite part of my process, and now you want to give me advice about it.
Hold on.
This is not advice. This is a lecture.
Okay, guys, hang on. Ready?
Okay.
If you're an independent creator, you 100% only should do things that you love to do, because you're a loser
I
I
will
didn't
read
expect
it.
that turn. That's a weird. I
I'm
didn't. I
still
didn't
working
expect
on
you
it.
to go in
I'm
that
still
direction.
I'm kind of working that out still.
I like that.
Yeah, that we
If
should
you have
workshop that off air.
Yeah, if you have notes, I'd appreciate. But
Oh, I
anyways,
do.
I want to read. I want to read
yeah.
Holly's comment here.
Okay, good. I was just about to. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, doing the stuff to get people to see it also sucks. I cringe thinking about making art TikToks for just views. So much work for 1 minute. I 100% agree, and I think I've said on the air multiple times that if I ever have to dance to get people to look at my art, I will sell everything I own and go live in a cave before I do that. Like I will bounce from society and go off the grid. Like I have been tempted to do that multiple times in my life. And if it ever comes down to the point where I have to like do some stupid inane dance, like I saw this the other day. I saw this dude. He was
like
wearing
an
a shirt.
MEU awareness song.
Yeah.
Like who does that to sell art? I mean,
No, that's awesome because that is that. Yeah.
I was joking.
But like I saw a dude wearing a shirt from the university that I live in, our age, and he had 700,000 followers on Instagram, and the only thing he was doing was stupid, trendy, dumb dances poorly. And I was like, yeah, congratulations for being like, you know, the one-eyed man is king in the land of the blind, you moron. Like, who freaking cares? Like and he was getting all this engagement. I'm like, oh, good job. You're impressing all the 17-year-olds, you creepy pervert. Like it was such a weird thing to see, like some 45-year-old going and just doing a little dance. And it was like, oh my gosh, this might be the saddest thing I've seen on the internet. And it was blowing up. It had like thousands of comments and shares. I mean, his not his vanity metrics, but his actual engagement was like through the effing roof, and it made me want to burn the internet to the ground. It is so stupid.
So, in summary, Corey's least favorite thing about working on this project is people.
Yeah, exactly. It's human beings. It's human
The audience. The audience.
Let's move on. Yeah. Let's move on from the Grinch to the Cat in the Hat. Scott?
That actually is a great juxtaposition. Scott,
no one asked me what my favorite part is. You asked me what the worst part is. I delivered
more. Don't apologize. I'm going to echo a lot of your thoughts.
And honestly, I was going to say I could almost copy paste your frustrations and express them as my own. So you're preaching for the choir, man. Okay.
You called out Christopher Runsman? That's not cool.
I'm not calling him out. I'm just saying he made a comment that I'm putting on the screen.
Christopher
Scott,
Runsman, who has a least
favorite part. Hold on, I want to guess Scott's least favorite part. Is that
well, you don't even know what project necessarily we're going to talk about yet.
I was trying to come up with something snarky that your least favorite part would be something slightly less optimistic than normal.
It's when the unicorns come and speak to you and give you, massive inspiration. It's cleaning up all that rainbow glitter of the positivity that they're just pumping you full of. Am I wrong?
Scott, what is your least favorite part of Corey's project?
Please do that.
Is that what we're answering? Oh, I gotta change.
Please do that. Oh, this show just got so much better.
It's gonna be more of a cornucopia type situation, you guys, by the end of this. I don't know if I told you, but I'm turning my channel to a drama channel. That's right.
For those clicks, to get those clicks.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of clicks, before Scott answers, click the like button. I always forget to do this, and it actually helps if you guys take a second and click that like button. All right, Scott.
You give a dime to MEU?
Yeah, that's right. Every click, an MEU patient gets their wings.
I don't know if this is true or not, but I've also heard if you click share, just so the link comes up, you don't even have to do anything with it. Just click share and then click it again so it goes away.
Click share and then copy the link to your clipboard. Because it can track both of those things, but it can't track anything past that. But it will know.
It will know you at least did that.
Or click Sunny, and then you have Sunny and share. It's just
until
I'm here all night, guys.
I'm here all night.
Yeah. Okay, Scott, you gotta go.
The over 45
gotta hear your least
loved
favorite.
that joke. Loved it. Yep. My dad is laughing somewhere.
Oh yeah, no. My dad jokes are getting to like grandpa's rolling their eyes level.
Yes.
All right, Scott, what's your least favorite part?
Least favorite part of as far as projects, I guess I'll talk about just what I've been spending most of my time on, and that's kind of the direction I'm going with YouTube and everything. I don't know. I mean, when you guys were was it who was it that was talking? Who had mentioned about? It must have been. I think it was Jim talking about how you kind of move from different parts of the project to kind of keep interested in it, and there's so many different aspects of this from even like the research coming up like because I'm very much, and I disagree with Corey a little bit on what he was talking about before, because I think what I'm doing now, and I'm confident that it's going to be successful, but it's kind of uncertain right now, but it's doing something that I think is going to be successful. My intention is that it's going to be successful, but it's also something that I really love doing. It incorporates all the stuff I like doing, stuff from back when I was a kid, making stuff, making video, all that stuff. So I like most. I mean, I like most of it. The one thing that
Which part are you disagreeing with me on?
The part where you said that you could figure out all the algorithms and all this kind of stuff, but you'd be chasing that and not necessarily doing what you like. I think there's a sweet spot where you can do both. I think what I found right now, and again, I'm banking on that this is gonna pay off, but it's doing something that I really like, and I think
you also really like something that has a larger audience than the things that I really like.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I guess. Okay, that makes sense.
Hey, snuff films aren't for everyone. We talked about this.
So
Corey, this was actually an intervention about the things you like. No.
All right.
We're really tired of all of your
Scott,
naysayers.
I want to support you on this because I feel like something happened with me with Two Stories. And before that book, I felt like I was kind of half-assing comics a bit. And then I'd get frustrated that my comics weren't like taking off or something like that. And I had this just sudden realization when I started taking comics more seriously, was that like I needed to start making comics that I love. And like I love every part of it and put a lot of care and effort into every element of it. I think Gary's had a similar thing with DVSM. I think to me, when you're talking about your YouTube channel, it's actually it reminds me of that, and it makes me excited because from what I've seen, it looks like you are just taking the art form really seriously and giving it your all, and that's kind of cool. Not that you haven't been giving a lot of effort, but it's like the level of care you're putting into these videos is really I mean, obviously this is a teaser for our conversation next week, but it's noticeably like there's a fire there, and it's exciting because I've seen that happen with multiple people before they kind of blow up or really start making great work. So just to support you on that. I think you're correct on that.
No,
and I don't think you're compromising in the way you're doing it. You're just also really just, again, like putting all your knowledge into it, Yeah.
That's kind of what I feel like I'm doing. But to answer the question, there are a couple things. One of the things that I like least about it is the amount of time that it's taking, because it's taking a lot more time than I thought. And my hope is that the more I do it, the faster it'll get, and I'll get a system down. But the other thing, if I had to pick one thing, it's probably the editing. Even though, sorry, I've got a grid up here with lights and stuff, and this one thing keeps falling down. But anyway, no one can see that but me. But anyway, so the editing, I kind of enjoy the process because I'm learning a new editing program, but it's a lot of work. The reason why I said that's probably my least favorite thing, even though I'm kind of enjoying that process because I'm learning, and I think it's good to learn every aspect. But if this thing does start to take off, that's the first part that I would give to somebody else to do, because I felt like, I've learned it. I've kind of set a standard. I kind of figured out kind of what I want this to look like. And that could change going forward. It could, the editing style could change or whatever, just depending on how people respond to it. But that's the part where I could definitely let somebody else do that. But I'm not going to let somebody else do the actual making the projects and coming up with the ideas for the videos and writing them, and because it's it's my voice and everything. So that would be the thing that isn't my favorite thing, even though I'm having fun doing that part right now just because I'm learning it. But it would probably get old after a while. It's starting to get old now that I'm on my fourth video of doing it. It's like yeah, this is a lot of work editing, spending, I don't know how many days, 2 days editing one of these videos.
Yeah. And if you guys are thinking, of Scott's previous videos, which were really meticulously edited, just prepare yourselves for something.
I don't think my other videos were meticulously edited.
I was going to say, but
mostly
you have
just
a
me turning on the
reputation for
camera.
that already. So I think I just want to gear people for the surprise of when you see Scott just going full bore on the editing. It's pretty amazing. But yeah, it does look like a lot of work. What do you hate the most about the editing?
Part of it, it's weird because it's the thing I hate the most is also the part. I mean, I like learning things. I like figuring things out. How do I do this in Premiere Pro? Which previous to these videos, I've never even touched Premiere Pro. So it's like, how do I do this? And then I'll go look up a YouTube video. I'll figure out how to do it. And there's that sense of accomplishment. Oh, now I know how to do this thing. And it's just building bit by bit on all these things I'm learning. And a lot of things I have to keep looking up the same thing because I'll forget how to do it, especially because it's taking the last video I edited was probably could be close to a month ago because I've just been working on writing and stuff. So when I get back to editing the next one, I'll probably have to refigure some of that stuff out. And because I'm learning, I'm slow at it. There's people that could probably do what I'm doing relatively quickly that are just masters of Premiere Pro and editing, things like that. So the part I like is also the part I don't like. I like learning. I like figuring things out, but I don't like that I don't know how to do it and it takes time and I'm not that experienced with it, Got it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I could see that being a drag in the process. Okay, should we move to Gary? Gary, what's your least favorite part of the process?
So something I was debating between a couple things, but then something Scott said helped me zero in when he
helped you master your debate.
Wow.
I'm here all night, guys. I'm here all night.
Wow. No, when he was saying what is the part I would give away, I thought that's maybe a useful way to zero in on what's the thing you like least is what is the part you would be quickest to give up.
Mm-hmm.
There's no good way to do this because I feel like it's a part that I have to do just because of the nature of the beast. But I actually, and it's something Jim and I have talked about for probably years now. I am miserable with the promotion stuff.
Yeah.
I know there's lots more I could be doing. I know that I could be way more active. I know I could be on way more channels talking about the book and pitching it and trying to be more of a salesman. I know I could go to especially when I look at the Making Comic guys, I could be going to way more cons.
Yep.
I could be out there hustling, and the only reason I don't is because I effing hate it. I feel so inauthentic. It's so opposite of what I'm in it for. I'm in it to make. I'm happiest when I'm just making my thing, and I feel very strongly that the best work comes out of comes from people who are not preoccupied with the audience and selling it and getting a certain number of followers or making a certain number of dollars or whatever, that you kind of have to be just concentrating on being an artist and making something that delights you and that you think is beautiful. Like, and that's it, end of sentence.
Yeah.
And anything beyond that just feels not only not what I was in it for, but a threat to the purity of the process. So I'm very ambivalent about it. And so that for sure it's that. For sure it's that. Even above like stuff I was talking about before, like drawing for 60 weeks, I would gladly draw nonstop if I could have the, you know, Gary Hodges life decoy model out there hawking it and handling that end of it. Like that would, like, I'd be totally content to give that part up.
Yeah, I feel like we all need like a Frank Salazar just out there as our hype man. Like, you know, because I relate to that a lot. Wow. All right, Jim, what do you think? What do you think is your
initially I was going to say the easy one, which would be lip sync. I hate lip sync. I'm not a huge fan of actually animating, but actually animating can be kind of fun sometimes. But lip sync is torture from the 7th level of hell. But you know what? I think, especially with this project, because it's such a long project that I'm working on, it's going to be feature length. I really am not liking how I'm feeling sort of obsessive sometimes, and I want to say addicted to creating. You know, I need to be able to take time off and walk away from it, because it's almost like that telling somebody with, I don't know if it'd be OCD, but telling a knock-knock joke and then not finishing it. It's like when you leave a project that's, oh, this scene's not done, it's almost done, and then you get pulled away from it for a few days. That needs to be an easier transition. I don't know if you guys feel that too. When life, but life should get in the way, because life is the most important thing.
I think even Holly was saying, she said the only thing that ruins stuff for me is being distracted, so I can't enjoy media when working. You know, it's like I think it's like it's a hard thing to, when we're in the thick of it, to get pulled out. You know, like when you're mid project. And I've definitely had those moments where you're like at a movie theater or something. You're supposed to be enjoying a movie, and the only thing you're thinking about is, yeah, I was working on this one part of my project, and I wonder if I can, like, you know, it's hard to shut that off. Yeah. That's
well, usually when I'm in a movie theater, the first thing I'm thinking is, are the cops going to catch me doing this?
Yeah,
but
that's true.
But that's a whole different story. So Christopher Runciman says he wants me to say my answer in the voice of Christopher Walken. For one, I cannot speak like Christopher Walken. Otherwise, I would do it, Chris. You know this. This is part of my MEU. It debilitates that ability to do Christopher Walken impersonations.
That's right. Christopher, it's kind of rude that you brought that up, actually. I mean, you need to be considerate of Jim's MEU here.
That's right. I'm strong. We're strong together.
MEU strong. #MEU.
So
me and you.
So I would say that's kind of a blanket or an umbrella answer, because it could go for any project. But if we're going to be specific, what I don't like, it is doing the lip sync. That's my least favorite part of it. But what about you, Josh?
I think my least favorite part is when you're working on a story, and I think actually, first off, this is hard to answer because I relate to every single answer that's been given. Like, I even empathize with Scott because I've had to do editing mostly at work for videos and stuff that I'm doing much more seriously, and editing's a nightmare. Corey's right. Like, I relate to that. It's like, I hate the fact that all the stories I want to tell are so weird. Like, they don't have a market, and it's kind of frustrating because it's like, I definitely have had those moments where it's like, this is the best thing I've ever made. You put it out there, you know, and it's like, look at this, it's hand lettered, it's hand inked, it's like meticulously drawn, and like 4 people like it, and even if 5 people or 200 people like it, it doesn't feel like, and it's like that vacuum where it never feels like enough. I relate to everybody, but for me, the thing that's the most frustrating is the time distortion of making something. So you get really hyped about something when you're scripting it, and you go through this long process of scripting it out. And then the fact that we write and illustrate our stuff, it's like once you have the story all worked out, now it's like you have to play the movie in like at the slowest motion possible on the screen. And it's like, I've seen the movie. I know this movie. I know where it's going. I know where it needs to go. I know the parts that need to be there. And now I just have to watch this whole thing play out and get exhausted and like every millisecond, like, like right now I'm roughing a page, and it's like, I know this is the process that I need for page 77, but it's like that slow motion process where it's like that takes forever, and then the panels take forever, and it's more like the impatience of like having to, I don't know, to me that's the most frustrating thing, is like you really do feel like you're jogging in slow motion, but you're as exhausted as if you're jogging in fast motion.
I wanna interject because I feel that. So I've been talking about this for weeks or months on my stream. I'm reading Rick Rubin's The Creative Act, A Way of Being, which I recommend to any creative anywhere.
Yeah,
if I had
badass.
funds, I would buy a copy of this for every creative I know. Like it almost should be a textbook if you want to be an artist.
You can start with us.
But there is something he says in there that he talks about your art should be, I think it's in the topic of not getting obsessed with this idea of your art being perfect and timeless and the most amazing work that's ever existed, and making it future proof where 15 years from now you can look back on it and still love it just as much as you do today. Like, that's crazy. It's a path to madness. That you should be treating your work as a diary entry. It needs to be true to you and how you feel in this moment, and then walk away. And tomorrow is a different diary entry. And I feel that. I think that's like, I 100% agree. But the problem that I find, that I think any of us in a long-term project find, like Josh, you're finding, is that diary entry has to be just as exciting and true and real and personal and exactly well put to you for years, because you're working on it for so long. That's what you're talking about, the slow motion thing. It's like you're hoping that you don't grow away from whatever this thing was that you committed into making.
Yeah.
That's something that's tough and scary and difficult, I think. Like I know at least when I'm doing mine, like 60 weeks of drawing a thing that I wrote maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And hoping that by the time I'm drawing page 60, I'm still thinking like, yeah, this is exactly how I would do it today. That's white knuckling it by the end. You're hoping that this is all going to come together.
So I had one more grand question for the evening that applies. It's all play. Being that we each of us at some point had a starting point for each of our current projects, and Gary, you're at the starting point now. Why is it that we seem to fall into the same traps every time when we have a blank piece of paper in front of us? We make the same mistakes. Is it because of our nature, of our character, or is it because it's just part of our process?
I'm not sure. I think I made different mistakes every time.
Really?
Yeah, I think each time I post-mortem and it's like, well, I'm not doing that again. And
wait, are you talking about the white pages?
The white pages were a great creative decision. No, I think I had different. I think the first time I was so focused on the self, I didn't even think about it coming out. I never even and that I would have done things differently if I had thought about an audience a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the second time I didn't think about how much longer it was and how much exhaustion was going to set in, and how my day-to-day and week-to-week process has to be as healthy as possible, or else I'm going to end up really like in tough shape emotionally and exhaustion wise at the end. So I think I knew that. I think this time I tried to make it more joyful, and I enjoyed the process more, even though it was tiring. But now I'm realizing, Corey and I have talked in the past about imposter syndrome, and I remember telling Corey at one time, like, I don't know anything about that. I think that something about this latest one revealed some of it in me. Like, I think. What was that?
Welcome. Yeah.
Welcome
No,
to
the way I discovered it is because, and this is, people who are in the same boat, they'll totally understand. People who are not, they're going to think this sounds demented and bizarre. But I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about this one, and it's revealed, I think, my touches of imposter syndrome. There is something about the positive feedback that's really been difficult for me. And so, like, that's where I say, like, each time I've fallen into a different pit. And each time I say, like, well, this is what I have to do differently to never do that again. But then I find a new pit to fall into for the next one. So.
There's a really interesting thing about imposter syndrome. I don't want to derail the entire conversation.
No,
but
derail it. Do it.
Go. If you look,
I love it.
I've got to draw it. Hold on. Let me switch over.
How do we really know that's
an illustration?
How do we know that's really Corey and not an imposter?
Yeah, that's a good point. And in the meantime, Corey has been this whole time committing a federal crime and counterfeiting money. I just thought I'd point that out for the authorities when they watch this in the.
We're gonna be very suspicious when he buys a new boat.
Yeah,
especially since there's no ocean.
This is how big tech will finally take down Corey.
Yeah.
They've been waiting. We got to get this guy.
Zuckerberg's like, yes, yes.
So let's see. This would
is that the Nike swoosh?
Okay, that's the normal. Now, what does an MEU version look like? How does that look worse?
Okay, so if the blue line, if this is an XY axis, right, and the blue line is all of your skills, abilities, and knowledge, right, your expertise.
Okay.
Then the red line is your perception of your skills and ability and knowledge, right? Okay. So this is Dunning-Kruger, right? Right here. Right here is classic Dunning-Kruger, and for those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically the less people know about things, the more confident and competent they feel about those things. And so it's kind of like somebody looking at an incredibly well-crafted, simple logo and saying, "Oh, that's so simple. I could do that."
Right. Or listening to some hard rockers and saying, like, "Ugh, I could do that. I could make a bunch of noise."
Right. Yeah. They only play 3 chords. I can play 3 chords. And it's like, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so, but as you travel along this, you start to realize all of the nuance and all of the things that you didn't know before. And as you begin to learn more, the world opens up and you start to realize how little you actually knew. And so your perception of self goes down as you increase because you know more, which means that you understand more of what you don't know. It's like my concept of math is way different than my buddy who has 2 master's degrees and a PhD in math, like in different types of math. Right. I had a conversation with him one time for 45 minutes where he tried to explain like the 6 different theories of infinity. And I was just like, I don't even have the foundation to understand like 80% of what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like, I thought infinity was just a lot. It was just more than, it was just an unending nothing. And he's like, yeah, that's one concept of it. Anyway, but like, so the interesting thing is right here I'm going to make this a different color. This is imposter syndrome, right? Right when you're in this total, you haven't reached necessarily like mastery, right? But you feel at your lowest point when you're actually significantly better, both in skills application and knowledge, than you were when you felt more confident about it. And so I think that the onset of imposter syndrome, this is what I've come to realize, or at least the way I soothe myself, that the onset of imposter syndrome is actually an indication that you know more and can do more than you could before. Like it is a good sign. But I actually tell students, like, if you don't think that you suck, you're in trouble. Like,
Yeah.
because one, you do suck, and two, it means that you're kind of delusional about like you're kind of delusional about where you are. The nice thing is actually moving past this as you go to the right, you can start to, in certain areas, you can start to regain some of that confidence as you continue to gain more and more expertise. Like there is a point after, I've heard this called simplicity on the other side of complexity. Meaning, as I neurologically develop, initially, before I have full mental faculties, right? I don't have the full use of my brain. My brain isn't fully developed. Most of that is going to be a lack of understanding or acceptance or ability to navigate gray area and nuance. And so prior to gaining the ability to see nuance, all human beings are in this blissful state of simplicity. Everything is black and white. Everything is up or down. Everything is good or bad. There's no moral ambiguity. Authority has all the answers. There's all of that. And as soon as we begin to gain the ability to see nuance, life becomes extremely complicated. Right. On the other side of that complication is actually the ability to navigate within that nuance. And so you have this simplicity in the midst of that complexity. And I think it's the same thing with imposter syndrome. At least I've reached in certain areas, definitely not in others. Like definitely in others, I'm solidly still in imposter syndrome. But in certain areas, I used to have imposter syndrome in those areas, but I feel like I'm on the simplicity in the midst of complexity on the other side of imposter syndrome, with some things. And so it's an interesting thing. I almost think arriving at imposter syndrome is a bit of a milestone that should be celebrated.
Maybe. I mean, what tracks with what you just laid out is that I never felt that way with the first one. Like ironically, the first D versus M I did was the easiest of all of them. You know, when in theory, when you would think maybe this is the first time I've done a comic, this should be the most challenging because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And there was sort of I think a blissful ignorance where I was like, I don't know, do it like this and this and this, and it was all fine. Where as it goes on, it seems like it's harder and harder. I mean, it could be that. What's interesting to me, though, is that the audience seems to reveal whatever latent imposter syndrome tendencies I had. I don't feel that way when I'm sitting in my room drawing or writing. I feel that way when somebody dares to give me good feedback. And then I'm like, oh, it puts me in a weird spiral.
Because I think it identifies, like you're aware of the flaws in your work, right? I'm aware of the things, like more intimately than almost anybody else, the things that the shortcuts that I took, the corners that I cut, the things that I could have spent another 6 hours on.
Or I also know, it's the Julia Child quote when she says, like, if a recipe goes wrong, take comfort in the fact that, you know, the people dining with you had no idea what you intended. Yeah. Like I have that with it. Like I know the difference between my idea of one of the D versus M's and what actually happened.
Yeah,
that's what actually people are reading.
I think that's kind of part of it is like, and tacking onto what Corey was saying too. It's like, Gary, you know, because you work, you know, doing a lot of stuff like professionally for like legal things and like looking at crime scenes and stuff like that. You probably more than anyone understand the nuances of the legal system, the sloppiness of like the humanity behind, legal cases, whereas somebody with like a kind of cartoonish perspective of the way law works would just be like, yeah, the cops show up, they get DNA, everything's solved. And it's like, it's rarely that clear cut. It's rarely like, that meticulous. Even like people's motives for crime are not always so clear cut, right? As like, I'm going to go commit crime, like, and it's, so the nuance gets heavier. And so like, I think if you talk to somebody who studies criminal law or works in like the legal system, they'd be the first to be like the least black and white about stuff, because they'd be like, look, the system's not perfect, right? Like it just isn't. Whereas like somebody on the outside is going to be much more black and white about it. But also, again, like you start realizing the things you don't know, like, cause you have to like learn sciences. And then suddenly you're like, wow, I didn't know this stuff about, like, I thought I knew anatomy, but now that I've had to draw like a skull 50 million times, like I might need to actually have like 10 skulls around me to reference to like get this thing right. Cause it's a lot more complicated. I think that's the imposter syndrome a lot of the time. Like when it comes to, expertise, like the more I've read about philosophy, the more I realize like I don't know anything about philosophy. But like what's weird is if I talk to somebody who hasn't read any philosophy, it's like they usually have really clear ideas on their philosophy, like they know exactly what they think about everything. And it's interesting, but it is also fascinating how much an audience will expose imposter syndrome. I think the first time I felt imposter syndrome was teaching college. And like the first time I taught a college class, I walked in there and I felt like I was just a total fraud.
Oh, I bet.
Because I was like, what am I going to teach adults?
Right. I'm now the authority. I'm standing up front telling people how to do things. That would do it for me, I think.
Yeah. But so I think that like that also ties into the imposter syndrome thing. I think so this is something I think might be cool to branch into if you guys are cool with going just a little bit longer. To me, like there is a unity here in the fact that I think that maybe we should talk about our methods for getting through projects, through those rough patches, through those like middle grounds. Like for me, weirdly enough, this is where Scott and I are very similar, even though like Scott's always the first to be like, you should start with a small project, like do a mini comic or a 1-page comic, something like that, if you want to do comics. And I'm like, hey, if you want to do a great epic graphic novel, do it today. Like, cause you're going to like age. And at some point you're going to never have time for that. So now's the time. But here's where we agree is like, when you take on a giant project, you have to batch it into little chunks and come up with stupid psychological systems of reward throughout the entirety of the process. Like for me, when I finish this rough that I'm working on, I have like a reward set aside for me tonight. It's like I'm Pavlov's dog, but I'm Pavlov at the same time, like training myself with like a little bell where I'm like, woohoo, you did a good job. I do that on a micro level and a macro level on jobs, so that each like I allow myself a break to step up and like stretch if I finish one panel. And when I finish another panel, I'll allow myself another break. When I finish a page, then maybe I'm allowed to play a game for 2 seconds or something. It's like these little systems of rewards by breaking a big project into like small achievable chunks. And I feel like no matter how big your project is, I think we all possibly do that. I don't know. I'm kind of curious to know, do you guys do that? And then what are some of the like systems of reward you give yourself when you're working on these projects? I guess I'd be curious to hear from Jim on that. Like, Jim, do you have like little reward systems, or does the MEU like prevent any of that?
Maybe it's just posting previews of things, or posting scenes or previews to let people know that, oh look, this is in progress, this is where it's at. that's like my little, let people get their awareness about the project and stuff. So that's probably it. But as far as like personal rewards like that, I don't have any. It is a reward when I feel like I've done something right and I feel like it adds to my confidence, period.
Yeah.
That's like, it's like validating. So that's probably a reward. But I think that other than that, it's just posting little previews. Like I would never work on something and not show anything for it for like a year.
Yeah. It's like you kind of need that dopamine hit almost,
Yeah,
where, and also the reminder like, hey guys, I'm not just in a cave here. Like I'm making
100%.
stuff. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about you, Gary? Like, do you have like a little way of kind of breaking these big, like, I mean, DVSM, that's a 1979. That's a 60-page graphic novel. It's almost a graphic novel. I mean, at that point, like, how do you have ways of like kind of chunking the project and giving yourself little rewards along the way?
So in terms of chunking the project, I really try to keep my head down and focus on just this page I'm working on this week. I really try not to, like, one thing I did, I think, in past books that I retired, this is an example of like the postmortem, like this is not helping me. Like I would have like I would be constantly calculating like my percent done with the book. And I would be looking at like how many pages left, and keeping count. Like that's, I think actually, for me, might work for some other people. Terrible idea. Like, because it's so big. I think it's the same reason that Scott and I chunk it out into like, well, it's not D versus M, it's like this particular issue, and it's not the issue, it's this particular page. Like you've got to keep it in it's the old how do you eat an elephant? A bite at a time. Like, you need to set the smallest definable goal you can think of and just do those over and over and over again. But really, I find it's like whenever I'm feeling shaky, it's a work-life balance thing. This is not a cool or sexy, but I think it's the one that I would give to people who were thinking about doing something like this. You got to get sleep, try to eat right. It's hard, but like you said, stand up, don't sit in a chair all day. It's hard to really do too much away from it because you need that time to work. So you can't say like, go on a week-long vacation. You can't really do that, but you can maybe go out to eat for dinner. Yeah. Or you can early.
Did I hear you say that Shakey's is your reward? I thought I heard
Shakey's could be my reward. No, but I think you need to find those little things away from it. I think you need, like, it's just a work-life balance thing. And it's also like a health thing. I find if I'm rested, if I'm eating right, if, I'm not neglecting my physical self, I'm probably going to be a better artist. I'm probably going to be drawing better and doing better, And so I think you really, to me, it's just taking care of everything around it. You're sort of creating a space where your attention can focus on this and it's not being diverted or diminished by running on fumes in the rest of your life.
That's perfect. What about you, Scott? Do you have like a system of kind of like breaking things down into like more achievable little chunks, and do you have like self rewards that you do for when you achieve one of those little things?
I've kind of talked about that ad nauseum as far as the whole reason why I do single issues. That's the main thing as far as breaking things down, and again, just knowing that, I guess not being too concerned that when this thing's going to come out, and that just because it is, it's not my main project, but it's a good feeling to know where I am in this, even though I've been doing this for so long, that it will get complete.
Yeah.
There were times where where I took less or I took more time in between issues than I just did on this one. And I think now, because I'm kind of in the home stretch, this being the last issue, where I'm like, I know where this is going to go. I know the whole story and everything, but will I ever get there? You know, is it because it would just kind of suck if I only did like 3 issues and never completed the story. But at least now I know that, you know, I'm getting closer to that, and it doesn't have to come out right away. And there's not people like banging at, it's not like I don't have a Squatch where he's banging at my front door like when's it going to be done, there's no one like that. So when it comes out, it comes out, and people are pretty cool with whenever it does come out. So so I don't feel that kind of pressure. So I just like, okay, I'm going to work on it. At least
I do have to say, sorry, Squatch, if you're watching or hearing this on the replay or whatever. My mental health improved tremendously when I really didn't care about his pressure. Like that's to me part of the audience thing. Like I can't get. I agree 100% with what you're saying. It's done when it's done. It's like, and it's done when I feel good about it. When I feel like, okay, it's time to put it out. When I'm ready to send it to print, and not a day before. I think now that's harder when you have a publisher. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I think like when it comes to Jim or Scott or Corey, you know, or I, it makes it much easier but you can still be tempted down this path of like, has it been too long? Are people waiting? Do they even remember?
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
I just think it's just unfortunate that Josh's publisher is forcing him to create hentai. I mean, look at this, what he's drawing. I mean, come on.
it's true. It's too much pornography.
I've never understood the octopus stuff, but Josh actually explained it to me the other night, and I have to admit, it was kind of hot. It was hot.
It's just part of their education, okay? The octopus, it needs to be on the school bus to educate these, you know, uneducated children. Anyhow, so no, the thing that I think is actually something to keep in mind when you have a publisher too. I've gotten a couple extensions already on my deadlines, and I'm a person who takes deadlines really seriously. So each time it's been like, look, I can get this done like on deadline and compromise the quality. Like that's basically it. But I care about this too much to compromise the quality. So is it cool if we extend the deadline? Because I want us to do a great book. Like I don't see the point in, and this actually goes for anybody. If you're doing comics or animation and you're going the indie route, the rewards are just not good enough to make mediocre work. Like it's just not worth it to make mediocre work. Like you need to be making the best things you can make, because at the end of the day, like it may not sell well and it may not take off or whatever, but at least you'll end up with the reward of having something you're really proud of, which is the joy of indie work. The joy of indie work is you don't have some douchebag standing over you, making you draw a certain way. Like the joy of indie work is you really get to self-author it and stuff like that. And also, you guys, MEU causes auditory issues, and so sometimes people have to like wave a light in front of their eyes to kind of get focused and stuff like that. So don't judge Jim's
judge.
I feel like we've beaten this topic to death. It's almost been 2 hours. I was not joking in the fact that I will probably just keep you guys on for the rest of the night, but I think
I think it's all been good stuff.
It has been. It's really productive. Yeah. And I think it's helpful for people out there. Let's read one quick thing. Holly said, I break things into 2-page spreads, then immediately put in InDesign so I can imagine it printed. That's a really good technique. I didn't even realize till I mentioned it on stream a couple days ago that it was kind of something people didn't do. It's something I've done since starting comics, where I'm always printing it out as I go so I can read it in sequence and check out the flow of the comic, and also make sure I'm doing my formatting correctly from the get-go.
Same.
And, I didn't even realize that was something most people don't, like a lot of people don't do. So
no, that is the last thing. I always test print every single page. Also to see, I think like you, Josh, I'm working way zoomed in.
Yeah.
So, and you're making choices about line weights and things, and you want to see like what is this actually going to look like printed? Did I get too fine with that, or too thick, or is that going to show up right, or is this fun?
I send all of my test art, test scenes, test movies to Christopher Runciman. I also send him my taxes to look over and my blood work whenever I get it.
I sent him some dirty underwear. He asked for it.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I don't know why he keeps asking for my social security number. So I'll just shoot that over to you, Christopher, really shortly. Christopher Runciman, really good guy. You guys should check him out on YouTube.
He is. It's a great channel to watch.
It really is. And actually, it's inspiring because it's like he's a guy who's constantly working on projects. Jim, that what you said about kind of like the kind of needing, like, yeah, I don't know what the sickness is that's in all of us that makes us continually work on projects. It's like, it is a weird thing, and it's a unique thing to artists where, you know, a lot of us, and we used to talk about this at like those meetups too with like Lonnie and stuff, where it's like a lot of us artists, you know, well, like it's hard to even enjoy a movie because you're watching the movie and you're like dissecting it for like, what tools could I use from, that's an interesting shot. I wonder if I could, and it's hard to shut that part, like the creator part of your personality off. Like it just really is.
Yeah. Sometimes the voices make you kill.
Yeah.
So
sometimes that's just the MEU. I don't know if you guys knew that, but that's another byproduct. Is occasionally there's random murder.
What people don't know is that this episode, we each told each other that it was an intervention for the next guy.
Nice.
So, but truthfully, it's Christopher Runciman's intervention for us all.
Yeah, Christopher, we all love you, and that's why we're here.
Yep.
We have concerns.
Yeah. What? Look, a one-page comic every day, Christopher? Really?
I thought
on demand?
I thought he was the intervener, and we were all the recipients. I had this confusion.
Oh, I had it backwards.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess this was a failed stream, you guys. With that, we'll end on failure. It has been going about 2 hours. I don't want to keep you guys. Not all of us have Friday off like I do. Yes, that's right. Okay, anyhow, so let's start wrapping up. So Corey, why don't you let everybody know where to find your work?
You can find my stuff at CoreyKerr.com. And if you go to CoreyKerr.com, there are things you can buy. And if you want to know what those things mean, then you can go to CoreyKerr.com/email, jump on the email newsletter. And I've got a bunch of video essays of me talking about the meaning behind some of those things. So you're mainly
Jim, that's a great mug. Where did you get that?
Pretty cool mug.
I got this at a Chinese website for very little money.
I will have arrived and feel like I'm being noticed when Alibaba starts selling my products for like
a cheesy ripoff of your mugs.
Yeah.
I will say you won't, because I've had t-shirt designs stolen by Chinese manufacturers, and it didn't make me feel good at all.
Corey, I will feel validated when Ali Sheedy starts ripping off my work.
Ooh, nice.
Wow.
Nice.
I have no idea who that is.
Speaking of,
you know who Ali Sheedy is, right, Gary?
Of course I do, but we're old men.
That's true.
This is true. You guys really are.
Yeah.
No. Just you guys, not us.
Right.
Okay. Scott, where can everybody check out your? Well, wait. You close out.
I gotta close it out.
My order's all messed up. Maybe I didn't get long enough of a nap.
Actually, Josh, I'm hosting, so maybe I should be directing the.
Oh, that's a fair point. Okay, you take the.
He sees control. He sees the wheel.
Actually, Josh, you're still asleep.
You were walking on the beach and you look back. There's only one set of footsteps.
Oh my gosh. You guys, I just had the weirdest dream. I thought we recorded the whole episode.
No, Josh. My internet's been down all day. What are you talking about?
Oh my gosh.
And you were there, Scarecrow? And you were there?
Let me tell you about my imposter syndrome dream I had 2 nights ago. I dreamt that I was hosting the Academy Awards in 4 days. They had hired me to host the Academy Awards, and I realized I hadn't written my opening monologue at all, not a word of it. And I realized I was going to be panicked now over 4 days, slapping together some sort of adequate opening monologue. And it was not going to be as good as I could do it because of the time crunch. And why did I wait this long to write the monologue for the Academy Awards? I can't even believe they hired me. Why would they hire me? That was my whole dream.
Well, I had an MEU dream, so
Nice.
Scott,
And
back
you
to
know,
I had a
that one
dream that they
MEU
hired me
dream
to
where you
host
gave
the
out,
MEU
yeah, the Emmys.
telethon.
Scott had a dream that he was
An MEU telethon?
Yeah.
Scott
Yeah,
had a dream
yeah.
that he was supposed to take over Artcasters and guide us right now. And
Well, that's all right, Josh, that you took over because I fell asleep at the wheel. So who's already went?
So we got
Corey has gone.
Corey,
Corey.
and that's
Wait,
it.
Scott, were you taking a nap?
I can go
I'm
again
trying
if
to
that's helpful.
multitask. I'm trying to multitask. All right.
By the
Jim.
way, I just want you guys to know Scott is wearing an Occupy Wall Street shirt.
Yeah.
I just
Okay, yeah.
go ahead.
All right, Jim. Where can anyone find you, and what do you got? What are you pitching tonight?
I'm working on the film still, and next Tuesday night I will do another episode of Hey Man, How's Your Movie Going, which is the process diary of my film that I'm working on called The Full Fungus.
Yes,
That's what we're doing?
And-
We're doing that now?
What's that about? Yeah.
That's what we're doing?
That's Gary's catchphrase. A trademark 2023.
I get a dime.
So, Tom Racine, who's a really great friend of mine and also a great voice artist, he's going to be my guest. He's one of the leads in the film. And I'll just let you know right now, I'm probably about 13, 14 minutes into the film. Done.
that's good, man. That's a lot of animation.
Tis.
It's
Was. Twas. And Joshua, or I'm sorry, back to Scott.
Gary, what about you?
So
you've wrapped up your book.
all 3 issues of D vs. M are available and in stock on my Etsy shop. And if you buy all 3, if you're new to D vs. M, I will include this highly confidential, top secret, space age silver envelope full of adhesive classified images. Some might call them stickers.
Nice.
What if you
different
own all
images
3
from-
but didn't buy them at the same time?
You just reach out to me and I'll fix you up. But so
Like
that's
if you're
available.
like a friend on like the Artcasters
Yeah.
chat that might be interested in
If you
said
reach
sticker.
out to me if you're interested in a bundle of top secret adhesive images, just reach out and we can work something out. But right now, by default, you get some if you order all 3 books.
I love it. You can keep
sci-fi,
those at your
horror,
ballroom.
suspense.
You can keep those in your bathroom. You can keep
You
all
can,
the
yeah,
confidential
especially
wherever
only-
you want.
Only if your bathroom has a chandelier. Only. Don't
Yes.
put it in some ghetto bathroom. If you have a chandelier, it's a little different.
I agree.
So yeah, sci-fi, horror, suspense, very character focused, deep stories, deep dives, long, thick books, 60 pages, 59 pages, 40 pages. Check it out. I think you'll really enjoy them.
Nice.
Now,
We're having
I
like a
think
really
I think
cool
Josh
show
and
of
I need to
mugs.
make mugs so Jim can complete his collection.
Yeah.
Hey, speak for yourself. I have a Society 6 with plenty of mugs. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Okay.
I gotta get one.
Yeah, you gotta check that out.
I have
Yeah,
a lot of stuff, but no mugs.
So I guess I should let people know where to find my stuff. You're on my channel. You guys haven't yet. Hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications when you're about to go live. Buy Jacob's apartment in 2 stories. Prove Corey wrong about indie and support, like, because he was dead right. One of the most frustrating things as an artist is when you spend years on something and it's not selling. So make it sell. And that goes for mugs, t-shirts, all of that stuff. Support these indie folks. But also buy Jacob's apartment and 2 stories if you haven't yet. You'll enjoy those books. Scott, take us away. Where can people, first off, tell us why it's really important everybody subscribe to your channel, like right after watching this, because there's something coming.
Yes. So my YouTube channel, I've been working on it behind the scenes. I stepped away for about 3 months, but I'm coming back with all different content. And if you go to my website, you can kind of see a little bit. I've retooled my whole website, so you can go check that out. And it kind of reflects the new direction. I didn't even do that on purpose. I just there's got to be another phrase for that. There's got to be another phrase that means the
Somebody
same
had
thing.
to do it.
Yes. But anyway, so you can definitely check that out and just pay attention to my YouTube channel. Next week I'll be launching my first new video, and I'm pretty proud of it. And I'm pretty proud of all I'm pretty proud of the direction that I'm going in. So so definitely check that out. If you are on my Patreon, and the Patreon has kind of ramped up too, because along with the videos, each video usually has a project that's involved that the video's about, and there's a lot of templates and things that go with that. Patrons get all that kind of stuff. There's different tiers and all that kind of stuff. You can check it out. Plus, you get the videos about a week early. So
Nice.
if you're already on my Patreon, you've already seen the video. So maybe check that out if you're so inclined. So yeah, all this cool stuff coming out, and then next week, I think Josh is hosting, and we're going to be talking about. Are you hosting next week, Josh?
I think it might be on Corey's, actually.
Okay.
Corey. I'd have to ask Corey, but I think it's on Corey's channel.
Okay.
Didn't I do it last? When did we just had Jason Copeland on, right? Or was that 2 weeks ago?
No, you just did.
Oh, okay, so then it is on my channel. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, because I don't have to book a guest. I have the best guest there is, which is awesome.
Yeah, I will be the guest next week on the Artcasters. So that'd be kind of neat, because I just
Tune
wanna-
into Artcasters, where we'll ask Scott the hard questions. We're not going to let him get away with skedaddling away from the hard, difficult questions.
Yeah, and if you have questions for Josh, and we're kind of the topic is where I'm headed, like what I'm doing on YouTube and everything. So if you watch next week, if you watch that video, I think Tuesday, the 20th is when the video premieres. If you watch it and you have any questions about what I'm doing or why I'm doing it, or why you change what you're doing, I liked it better what you did before, any of that stuff, send those to Josh, and then. Or just show up in the chat, and you can ask those questions too. So, so yeah. But and the best way to know when that video is going to come out, the Artcasters video next week, because it kind of does move around. Usually on Thursdays, could be a different day. But just join our mailing list. There's a link in the description of this video, and if you join that, it will tell you you'll get like a newsletter with a link to the video, usually about at least a half hour before we go live. It'll tell you who the guest's going to be, what day it's going to be, all that kind of stuff, topic, all that stuff. So that's the best way to know exactly when we're going to be on with another live stream. So check that out. We don't spam you or anything. All we do is send you that link once a week.
That's right. And before we hit end, make sure you hit that like button. And not just that, please do send me any questions you want to ask Scott Cirkland, especially if they're about the incident in 1984. I just want to, we really want to dig heavily into that. So, but tune in next week. We are going to be asking Scott, and it's going to be a really good episode to hear all about the nuts and bolts of what he's doing. And keep your MEU awareness alive, you guys.
Are you
support
gonna play
Jim
us out,
Lujan. I can't, because it's a little too late in
oh,
the house
yeah.
to be
Yeah.
rocking a guitar.
Yeah,
My
that makes
sister-in-law is permissive of me doing loud talking, but I think if I start jamming out on a guitar at 11, she's probably gonna.
Yeah.
That's
And then I'll be like, whatever, man, it's my band, bro.
not everyone's sensitive about MEU.
Yeah.
Not everyone
true.
understands.
Yeah, not everyone understands. All right. And with that, by the way, Corey, that looks kind of amazing. Okay.
Thanks.
And with that, we will see you guys on the next live stream or Artcasters. And thanks again, Jim and Gary, for coming on and talking about beginnings, middles, and
Thank you.
ends.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Bye.
Later, guys.
See ya.
And Christopher Runciman, we're coming for your stream. We're gonna come hard and destroy your stream. That's actually a New Direction song too.
We're gonna come hard by the New
Yeah.
Direction.
All right, that's right.
Oh God, we're still alive.
Who's